Q raised his grey, wrinkled hand. The room grew quiet. His voice, though soft, carried to every corner. The darkness has consumed 3 more systems. Our defenses continue to fail. At once the room exploded with noise. The Morathi representative, with her 6 eyes all blinking fast, stood up and shouted about broken promises. The Zentari leader pounded his metal fist on the table, demanding more ships for protection. The small bird-like Pavi huddled together, their feathers puffed in fear. "My world sits at the edge. We will be next," cried Bak, his green skin flushing, darker with emotion. "The military promised us shields would hold," yelled another. For 1,000 years the coalition had faced no real threats. 100 worlds united in trade and knowledge had created the greatest peace the galaxy had ever known. But now, something new tested that unity. It had started 5 years ago. A strange darkness had appeared at the far edge of the galaxy. It wasn't a black hole or any known space event. This darkness ate light, matter, and energy. Whole stars simply winked out when it touched them. Planets vanished without a trace. At first, it moved slowly. The coalition sent ships to study it, but none returned. They built walls of energy to stop it, but the darkness passed through them like they weren't there. They fired weapons that could crack moons, but the darkness only grew. Now it moved faster, taking 3 star systems in the past month alone. The shouting continued until a clear voice cut through the noise. "Silence!" Hana stood up. The Ardani. High Strategist's body looked like it was made of crystal. Light bounced off her in rainbow patterns as she moved to the center of the room. The Ardani were known for their cold logic and perfect calculations. When an Ardani spoke, everyone listened. "I have run the numbers," Hana said, her voice calm despite her dire words. "Our calculations show 98.7% probability of extinction within a decade." The room fell so quiet that Q could hear the soft hum of the air systems. No one moved. No one spoke. The weight of her words pressed down on them all. In the silence, a small voice spoke up from the back row. "There may be one possibility, all." Heads turned to see who dared to speak. It was Tay, a junior historian who had only joined the council meetings to take notes. His face turned red as all eyes focused on him. Elder Q nodded for him to continue. Tay cleared his throat. "In my research of old records, I found something interesting. Centuries ago, an Ardani scout vessel was lost in an uncharted region. They reported being caught in a gravity storm that damaged their ship beyond repair." Hana frowned. "This is not the time for history lessons, young one." "Please," Tai said, his voice stronger now. "The important part is what happened next. The scout vessel encountered beings from a nearby planet who helped repair their ship. These beings solved the problem in ways the Ardani crew had never considered." "So?" asked a council member. "Many species have different approaches to problems. These beings didn't just think differently," Tay explained. The Ardani report specifically noted that these creatures tried solutions that any logical species would consider impossible or foolish. Yet they succeeded where Ardani logic failed. A murmur ran through the crowd. Elder Q felt something he hadn't felt in years, a small spark of hope. "These beings," Tay continued, "came from a water world with one large moon. They called themselves humans." "Humans," whispered Elder Q. The word felt strange on his tongue. "The archive speaks of them." The room buzzed again, but differently now. "Could such beings help against the darkness?" asked Bak. Hana's crystalline face showed doubt. "The probability is extremely low." "But not zero," said Q. "And right now, we need any chance, no matter how small." Q turned to face the full council. "I propose we send a mission to find these humans. Their world must be located in the records. If they think as differently as the report suggests, perhaps they can see something we have missed." The council voted. With extinction facing them, even the smallest hope was worth pursuing. As the meeting ended, Q looked at the star map on the wall. Somewhere out there was a planet called Earth, and on it lived beings who might just save them all. The Coalition. Ship Starlight Seeker slipped out of fold space with barely a ripple. The massive vessel, shaped like a silver leaf, came to rest in the shadow of a small moon. Below them floated a blue-green planet wrapped in swirling white clouds. Captain Mina stood on the bridge, Her forearms crossed as she studied the main screen. Her skin had the pale blue color of her water-world home. She had led many first contact missions, but this one felt different. The fate of the galaxy might rest on its outcome. "Scan complete, Captain," said Pilot Doe, his fingers dancing over the control panel. "This is definitely Earth." Mina nodded. "Show me what they've built." The screen shifted to show a series of images. A small space station circled the planet. A few bases dotted the surface of their moon. Some simple outposts sat on the red planet next door. "They've barely colonized their own system," observed Mina with a hint of disappointment. "And their ships use chemical rockets. So slow." "Science." Officer Jin floated up to the viewing platform. His species had evolved in low gravity, and his thin body seemed to drift rather than walk. His large eyes blinked as he reviewed the data. "Yet they possess nuclear capabilities and rudimentary AI," Jin responded. "Fascinating evolutionary path. They focused on different technologies than most species." "Can they really help us fight?" "The darkness?" asked Mina. "They haven't even mastered light-speed travel." Elder Q, who had insisted on joining the mission despite his age, stepped forward. "Sometimes the newest eyes see what old ones miss." Jin pointed to another reading. "Their communications network is quite advanced. They call it the Internet, and they produce an unusual amount of fiction." "Fiction?" asked Mina. "You mean false information?" "Stories," clarified Jin. "Made-up tales about things that never happened. They create thousands of new ones every day." Mina frowned. "What a waste of time." "Or perhaps," said Elder Q, "a sign of imagination." The ship sent its message to Earth. At first, humans responded with confusion and fear. Military jets flew up to look at the alien ship. News channels showed nothing else. People gathered in streets looking up at the sky. But within days, Earth's leaders agreed to meet. They called themselves the United Council, with representatives from all major nations. The meeting took place in a large building in a city called Geneva. 5 coalition members teleported down: Captain Mina, Science Officer Jin, Elder Q, Communications Specialist Wu, and Security Chief Day. They appeared in a flash of light in the center of a round room. Humans sat in rows around them, some in military uniforms, others in formal clothes. Security guards stood at the doors, hands on their weapons. Mina expected gasps, screams, or at least wide eyes. Instead, the humans looked calm. Some even looked bored. "Welcome to Earth," said a woman sitting at the center table. "I am Director Su of the United Council." Elder Q stepped forward and bowed slightly. "We thank you for meeting with us. I am Elder Q of the Galactic Coalition, representing 100 worlds united in peace." "Yes, we received your message," said Director Su. She wore a simple black suit and had short gray hair. Her face showed no fear, only curiosity. "You mentioned a threat to the galaxy." For the next hour, the Coalition members explained about the darkness. They showed videos of stars disappearing and planets being consumed. They described failed attempts to stop it. They shared Hana's calculation, 98.7% chance of extinction within 10 years. When they finished, Director Su leaned forward in her chair. Her eyes were sharp and direct. "So," she said, "you're saying the galaxy is being consumed by some unstoppable force, and despite your 1,000 years of technological advancement over us, you need our help." Mina felt her skin flush with embarrassment. When she put it that way, it sounded ridiculous. "Yes," admitted Elder Q simply. "We do." The room buzzed with worried talk. Leaders from planets with blue suns sat next to those from worlds with 3 moons. Some had scales, others had fur, and a few glowed with inner light. They had lived in peace for thousands of years, but fear now filled the air. A man at the table laughed. "What can we possibly do that your advanced civilization can't?" Jin stepped forward. "Your species thinks differently. You try solutions that no logical species would consider. Sometimes such approaches work when logic fails." Director Su looked at her colleagues. Something passed between them, some unspoken human communication. "You have technologies we've only dreamed of," said another council member. "Teleportation, faster-than-light travel, energy shields. What do you offer in exchange for our help?" "Knowledge," said Elder Q. all our technology freely shared. The room grew quiet. Director Sue smiled slightly. And if we refuse? Then we all die together, said Elder Q. The darkness will reach your world eventually. Director Sue stood up. The other humans followed. We need to discuss this privately, she said. Please wait. The humans left the room. The coalition members looked at each other. Did we offend them? Asked Wu. I cannot read their expressions well, admitted Jin. After 30 minutes, the humans returned. Director Sue walked directly to Elder Q and extended her hand, a human greeting gesture. Humanity accepts your offer, she said. We will help you fight this darkness. Just like that? Asked Mina, surprised. Director Sue smiled. We've been imagining aliens coming to Earth in our stories for centuries. In most of those stories, the aliens want to destroy us. The fact that you need our help instead, that's refreshing. Elder Q took her hand carefully. Thank you. Don't thank us yet, said Director Sue. First, show us what we're really up against. Engineer G held the small device in his 3-fingered hands. His orange eyes blinked rapidly as he studied the strange design. The human engineer standing across from him watched with a patient smile. That's not structurally possible, exclaimed G, turning the device over. The energy flow would collapse the internal matrix. Han, the human engineer, simply shrugged. We tested it yesterday, it works. G's antennae twitched in frustration. But our equations clearly show— Your equations are right, Han interrupted. According to the rules you know, it shouldn't work. But we tried something different. This scene played out hundreds of times across Earth in the months after first contact. The Coalition had shared their advanced technology as promised. Fold space engines, energy shields, gravity manipulators. Earth's scientists and engineers studied these marvels with hungry eyes. But instead of simply using these gifts as given, humans began to change them, mix them, break them apart, and rebuild them in ways that made the alien visitors deeply uncomfortable. At a lab in Seoul, Han led Ji through a tour of their latest creations. The lab had once been a car factory. Now it buzzed with activity as humans and aliens worked side by side. See, we noticed that your shield technology creates a perfect barrier, Han explained as they walked. But perfect isn't always best. Sometimes you want a shield that can bend a little before it breaks. Ji looked confused. A shield that bends is weaker. Not always, said Han. Think of a tree in the wind. The ones that don't bend are the ones that snap. Earth became a nexus of innovation. Human scientists combined coalition technologies in ways the aliens had never considered, creating weapons and shields that defied conventional physics. At a military base in Busan, another meeting was taking place. General Sun of Earth's United Defense Force stood before a holographic map, pointing to star systems near the advancing darkness. We place our new shield generators here, here, and here, she said, marking 3 points. Then we position the fleet behind them, not in front. Hana, the Ardani strategist, studied the plan with growing concern. Her crystalline form caught the light as she moved around the map. You realize this battle plan has only a 17.3% chance of success, Hana told General Sun during the strategy meeting. The darkness will simply flow around these points. Better odds than we had at Thermopylae, Sun replied with a grin that confused the Ardani. Or Normandy or Mars Colony. Sometimes you have to take the shot. I do not understand these references, said Hana. Human history, explained Sun. Battles where the smaller force won against impossible odds. Such outcomes defy probability, stated Hana. That's what makes them worth remembering, said Sun. 3 months later, Sun's battle plan was put to the test. The darkness had reached the Proxima system, home to 4 inhabited planets. The Coalition Council had deemed the system indefensible and ordered evacuation. But General Sun convinced them to try her strategy. The new shield generators, modified by Han's team, were positioned at key points. The fleet waited behind them, not in front as coalition tactics would dictate. From the bridge of the command ship, Sun watched as the darkness approached. It moved like a living thing, tendrils of empty nothingness reaching out to consume light and matter. Shield generators activated, reported Commander Yoon. The modified shields didn't create solid barriers. Instead, they generated rippling fields of energy that bent and twisted space itself. When the darkness touched the first shield, something unexpected happened. Instead of passing through or consuming it, the darkness seemed confused. Its tendrils pushed against the bending shield, then pulled back. "It's working," whispered Yun. The darkness probed the shields again and again, searching for a way through. Each time, the flexible barriers bent, but did not break. "Now," ordered Sun. The fleet moved forward, ships firing the new weapons Han's team had created. These weren't standard energy beams. They were hybrid technologies that shot spinning vortexes of gravity and light. Where normal weapons had no effect on the darkness, these new ones seemed to hurt it. The darkness pulled back from the assault, its tendrils writhing. "Keep firing," Sun commanded. "Don't give it time to adapt." For 6 hours, the battle raged. The darkness tried to find ways around the shields, but Sun had positioned them too, carefully. It tried to overwhelm them with force, but the bending shields absorbed the pressure. Finally, the darkness retreated. For the first time ever, it gave up ground. When the news reached the Coalition Council, no one could believe it. The Proxima system, given up for lost, had been saved. On Earth, Han watched the celebration from his lab window. People danced. In the streets, humans and alien visitors together. Ji found him there, still looking at the stars. "You knew it would work," said Ji. "How?" Han smiled. "We didn't know. We hoped." "Hope is not a strategy," Ji replied. "For humans it is," said Han. "Hope makes us try the impossible, and sometimes the impossible works." When the human-led defense of the Proxima system succeeded against overwhelming odds, the Coalition began to hope too. Perhaps the darkness could be beaten after all. The next day, 1,000 new alien scientists arrived on Earth, eager to learn the human way of thinking. The darkness changed its ways. Like a thinking enemy, it learned from its defeat at Proxima. It moved faster now. It split into multiple streams. It struck at unexpected places. The Coalition's victory celebration ended too soon. 3 Coalition homeworlds fell in a single day. The Zentari crystal planet, the Marathi gas giants, and the ancient Pavi nest worlds, all gone in hours. Billions of lives extinguished as stars collapsed into darkness. The Coalition fleet tried to fight back using the same tactics that worked at Proxima. But the darkness simply avoided those traps now. Emergency alarms rang through Earth's United Defense headquarters. General Sun rushed into the command center, still wearing sleep clothes under her hastily donned uniform jacket. The giant screens showed 3 star systems blinking out, one after another. "How did it happen so fast?" she asked. Elder Q walked slowly into the great meeting hall. His steps echoed in the vast room made of ancient stone. The lights above shone down on the 100 seats arranged in a circle. Each seat held a leader from a different world in the Coalition. Q had lived for 300 years, but today he felt even older. Commander Yun looked up from his station, his face pale. "The darkness has adapted. It identified our shield patterns and found ways around them." Sun stared at the tactical display. More red warnings flashed as Coalition outposts reported the darkness approaching. "Where is it heading next?" "Everywhere," replied Yun. "It's splitting into dozens of tendrils, each attacking a different system." The Coalition War Council met in Earth's orbital station. Representatives from 70 worlds remained. 30 had already fallen to the darkness. Faces showed fear, anger, and despair. Some cried openly for their lost homeworlds. Elder Q's voice shook as he addressed the council. "Our scientists believe the darkness will reach Earth and the remaining Coalition centers within 30 days. We must consider a full retreat to the far side of the galaxy." "Retreat to where?" asked Director Su. "The darkness will follow. We've seen it can travel faster than our ships now." Hana stood. Her crystalline form seemed dimmer than before, as if her inner light was fading. "Our new calculations show 99.9% probability of extinction within 6 months, she said. "The darkness has studied us. It knows our defenses now." The room fell silent. The weight of her words crushed all hope. Then the door slid open. A small, human woman walked in. She wore a lab coat covered in coffee stains. Her hair stuck out in all directions as if she hadn't slept in days. "We found something," Yoon announced to the Coalition War Council. Her voice was quiet but clear. All eyes turned to her. Yoon was Earth's lead data scientist, working with a team of human and alien researchers to study the darkness. "Put it on screen," ordered Director Soo-Yoon, connected her tablet to the main display. Complex patterns appeared, swirls of data and movement tracks. "We've been watching the darkness for months now," she explained, "recording every movement, every attack, every retreat. At first we saw no pattern, but then we tried something different." She tapped her screen. The display changed to show what looked like a sound wave. We converted its movement data into audio frequencies. And we heard this. She pressed play. A strange, pulsing rhythm filled the room. It rose and fell in a complex but regular pattern. "It has a heartbeat," whispered Han, who sat near the back. "Not exactly a heart," said Yoon, "but yes, a central pulse. The darkness isn't just one thing. It's billions of tiny things all moving, together like a swarm. And they all take direction from a control point." "A vulnerability," said Sun, sitting forward. "Yes," Yoon nodded. "We believe if we can disrupt this control point, the swarm will fall apart." "Where is this control point?" asked Elder Q. Yoon's face grew serious. "That's the problem. It's here." She pointed to the map, highlighting a spot deep inside the largest mass of darkness. "But exploiting it would require positioning our fleet precisely at their strongest point," objected Elder Q. "It's suicide." Admiral Jia stood up. She had commanded Earth Space Forces for 15 years. Her face showed the scars of many battles. "Sometimes to win," said Admiral Jia, "you must be willing to lose everything." "What are you suggesting?" asked Hannah. Sun moved to the front of the room and outlined the plan. They would gather every ship from every remaining world. They would build new weapons designed to target the specific frequency of the control point. Then they would send the entire fleet directly into the heart of the darkness. "This plan violates all strategic logic," protested a Zentari commander. "You send your forces away from what you want to defend, not toward the enemy's strongest position." "It's not just illogical," added another. "It's insane. You'll sacrifice our entire fleet." "If we do nothing, we're all dead anyway," said Sun. "This gives us a chance." "A 0.1% chance at best," calculated Hannah. "Better than zero," replied Sun, the cow. Debate raged for hours. The coalition commanders protested the human plan as irrational, reckless, even insane. But with extinction looming, they had no alternative. Finally, Elder Q called for a vote. One by one, the representatives gave their answer. Some agreed eagerly, some reluctantly, some with tears in their eyes. When the last vote was cast, Director Sue stood. "Then it's decided," she said. "We follow the human plan." For the next 20 days, every shipyard worked at full capacity. Every weapon factory produced the new disruptors. Every available pilot trained for the mission. On the final day, Sun addressed the combined fleet from the bridge of the flagship, Earth Hope. 10,000 ships filled the space around her, crewed by beings from 67 worlds. "We know what we face," she said, her voice carried to every ship. "We know the odds. But sometimes the craziest plan is the only one that works." "Ready the fleets," ordered Sun. "We end this tomorrow." As her words echoed through the vast fleet, pilots and crews made their final preparations. Some prayed to various gods, others sent messages to loved ones. All prepared to make the ultimate sacrifice. The darkness waited ahead of them, growing larger by the hour. The massive fleet jumped into fold space, 10,000 ships moving as one. When they emerged, the darkness waited for them. It spread across, the stars like spilled ink, blocking out the light of 1,000 suns. On the bridge of Earth Hope, General Sun took a deep breath. Behind her stood Admiral Jia, Yoon the data scientist and Han the engineer. The moment they had prepared for had arrived. "All ships report ready," said Commander Yoon from his station. Sun nodded. "Begin the assault." But what happened next confused everyone watching from the Coalition Command Center. Instead of moving forward in tight formation as planned, the human commanders gave unexpected orders. "Sector 3, break left. Group 7, full stop. Tiger Squadron, advance at maximum speed." The neat lines of ships broke apart. Some raced ahead while others hung back. Groups split and reformed in patterns that made no sense. In the Coalition Command Center, Hana watched the tactical display with growing alarm. Her crystalline hands shook as she turned to Elder Q. "What are they doing?" asked Hana, watching the tactical display in horror. "This violates the entire battle plan. They're moving at random." Tay, the young historian who had first suggested finding humans, stood nearby. His eyes widened as he watched. "Not random," he said softly. "Being unpredictable." The darkness responded to the fleet's approach, sending out tendrils to surround the ships. It had faced coalition forces before and knew their tactics. It expected the ships to form a defensive wall or to retreat when threatened. But the human commanders did neither. Where the darkness expected retreat, humans advanced. Where it expected defense, they attacked. The void creature's tentacles grasped at empty space as ships zipped past in directions no logical battle computer would ever calculate. "It's working," whispered Yoon, watching the data streams. The darkness is confused. The swarm that made up the darkness tried to adapt, but each time it predicted one move, the humans would do something entirely different. The battlefield became a chaotic dance, with human ships dodging and weaving in ways that defied standard tactics. Coalition ships, following the humans' lead, executed the impossible strategy. Years of training told them to maintain formation, to follow logic and order. But today they embraced chaos. "Now," ordered Sun as the fleet reached the heart of the darkness, "deploy disruptors." Ships plunged into the heart of the darkness, deploying the new weapons at precisely calculated points. The disruptors activated, sending out waves of energy tuned to the exact frequency of the darkness's control point. At first, nothing happened. The darkness continued to swarm around the ships, consuming those it caught. Thousands of brave pilots and crew were lost in seconds. Then Yoon shouted, "Look!" In the center of the darkness, something changed. The swirling mass of tiny particles began to vibrate. The pattern of their movement grew erratic. "The disruptors are working," cried Han. "They can't communicate with each other anymore." The void shuddered. For the first time in recorded history, the darkness receded. Its tendrils pulled back, not in retreat but in confusion. Without the control point guiding them, the billions of tiny particles didn't know what to do. "All ships, fire main weapons," ordered Admiral Jia. The fleet unleashed everything they had. Beams of energy and gravity ripped through the disorganized swarm. What had once been an unstoppable force now fell apart under the assault. The battle raged for hours. More ships were lost, more brave souls sacrificed. But slowly the darkness broke up into smaller and smaller pieces, until finally it dispersed entirely. We won," said Commander Yun in disbelief. The cheer that went up from the bridge shook the walls. People hugged each other, cried, laughed. Sun looked around at their faces, human and alien together, united in their joy and relief. The journey home was slow. Damaged ships limped back to safe harbors. Crews mourned their lost friends, but across the galaxy, species once facing extinction celebrated their salvation. 3 days later, on the observation deck of Earth's orbital station, Sun stood looking out at the stars. Earth turned below, blue and peaceful. She heard footsteps and turned to see Hana approaching. The Ardani strategist's crystalline form caught the starlight. "You knew the mathematical probability of success was minimal," Hana said. Sun smiled, watching the stars. "We didn't beat the odds, we changed the game." "How so?" asked Hana. "The darkness expected logic because that's all it had ever faced," explained Sun. "The coalition always used perfect formations, predictable tactics. But humans embrace chaos. Sometimes, we know that not everything can be calculated." Hana was quiet for a moment. "My people have always believed that mathematics can solve any problem. That logic is the path to truth." "Sometimes it is," agreed Sun, "but sometimes you need to try the impossible." "I believe I understand now," said Hana. "Your species doesn't ignore probability. You simply refuse to be limited by it." In the months that followed, the coalition rebuilt. New homeworlds were found for displaced species. The remaining darkness particles were tracked and eliminated. And Earth took its place as a full member of the Galactic Coalition. A new phrase entered the lexicon of 100 worlds. When faced with an impossible problem, when logic failed and hope seemed lost, aliens would look to the sky and say, "When all seems lost, call the humans. The small blue planet, once deemed primitive, had taught the stars a valuable lesson. Sometimes victory doesn't come from superior technology or greater numbers. Sometimes it comes from being willing to try when all logic says you will fail.